Hello everybody, it is Starrapter here, and welcome to the channel. This is the Outer Rim Transmissions, episode number 6. I had a little bit of a break there, but I have come back with my very good friend, Mike from Star Wars Speculation, formerly Force Within TV. We're here to talk about the Bad Batch series being announced for Disney Plus coming in 2021. I want to talk about our initial reactions to this news. So, how are you, first of all, man?
Great. Thanks for having me on the channel. Really appreciate it. And the podcast or whatever you want to call it, Chris. Always good to talk to you, man. My initial impressions to get right into it, I was super happy, and it's kind of for a roundabout reason, but the Kessel Run transmission guys had called this. They said that this was the next animation series that was coming, and they'd also been saying that a Star Wars Rebels sequel was coming. And that's what I'm really hoping for. So when I saw this was correct, that it leads me to believe that a Star Wars Rebels sequel is actually coming, and I'm really pumped about that. So I am pumped about the Bad Batch as well, but a little more pumped about the fact that these guys got it right, and we might be getting that Star Wars Rebels sequel after all.
Yeah, the guys at the Kessel Run Transmissions, they called this like weeks or months ago, and you're right. I was like, oh man, if they have credibility to announce something that's right like this, then maybe the other things they've been teasing are actually gonna come true. So this is interesting, because I thought, oh, maybe the Rebels sequel will come out first, but it looks like they're riding the wave of hype from the Clone Wars, because it was just so very successful with everything that was going on during the time that it was on the air. I think it was like the #1 streamed show on TV for like those 3-4 months that it was airing. So that just goes to tell you how much the fan base has been wanting this, and to see how far everything has come, right? Like the Clone Wars first coming out in the film, and not many people liking the film. And then as the series rolled out on Cartoon Network, then it continued to gain popularity, then it got canceled, then it put it on Netflix, then they announced it was officially done, and then it was like Disney Plus. So it's got this like really crazy long road, but it ended up working out for it to the point where this is, the way I think about this is super interesting. This is like the first spin-off Star Wars television series, because if you look at the other 3 main canonical series, they were all from basically brand new characters. Like you have one in the sequel trilogy era, then you have one, of course, with Rebels, which did have some crossover with characters like Ahsoka, but it was still a brand new cast of characters, and of course Clone Wars is based on those characters. So I think this is really telling to see, like, okay, we got this whole show that's based upon another series that's interconnected so closely with that.
Yeah, I listened. I thought that those 4 first episodes were a solid start to the Clone Wars, and I think this is going to be a solid animation series. It really depends on where they go with it. I certainly hope there's a lot of Captain Rex in this series. I could really see him being a main part of this series, but it's hard to tell. We have very little about what it's actually going to be about at this point. But I'm still wide open for speculation or whatever you want to talk about. So,
yeah. Now, my first thing I want to dive into is, we know some of these characters are actually, we know all these characters already, right? Because we've been watching the Bad Batch, so we had kind of like a backdoor pilot. Like, put it this way: Disney just didn't announce a series out of the blue 2 days ago. Like, they've been working on this for a long time. Animation has like a 2 or 3 year lead time from when things actually get put out and produced. So they've been working on this, and it's like, are these characters, do you think these characters are, and not including Rex, not including Ahsoka, but the 5 characters of Bad Batch, do you believe that these characters are strong enough, as we see them in Season 7, to carry their own series?
Yeah, that's a great question, actually. When I think about the Bad Batch and its potential, I think a lot about Star Wars Rebels, this series I followed really closely with my channel. And, what worries me is thinking about, like, one of the great things they did in Star Wars Rebels is they were able to give, like, a backstory to each one of the characters, and you really went in depth over, several seasons and learned about those characters. And I'm wondering, is there much depth to learn about these four characters. It didn't seem like there was in those first four episodes of the Clone Wars, but certainly, I think there's lots we could learn about those characters. I don't think it's going to be exactly like Star Wars Rebels. I mean, they're clones. There's not going to be quite the variety. But listen, I think that the writers will probably do a fabulous job of fleshing these guys out and making them, more really allowing us to understand who they are and what makes them tick. Even a very simple seeming character like Wrecker, right? Just getting to know him a little bit more and what makes him tick. I think that's totally possible, right?
Yeah, definitely. I think there's a lot of potential for these characters. As I was kind of calling it in my reviews back when I was reviewing the season, like this is like the A-Team or like that quintessential kind of like 80s action Rambo kind of group. Like, yeah, they're introducing these characters for a lot of awesome action, and I love the action. I went back and I watched the first 4 episodes of season 7 because I was riding off the hype, and yeah, it's just they're so entertaining to watch. But when it comes down to it, yes, how compelling of the characters can they be as far as character development? Again, I agree with you. Like, did we see a whole lot of development in them? Not so much, but here's where things get interesting. The time period we're dealing with the Empire now going to be in control after the events of Order 66. You're going to start seeing a lot of these clones hopefully having a lot of second thoughts on what their true purpose is, right? They're going to be phased out. They're going to be turned into stormtroopers. So I think we could start to see a lot of really interesting plot lines develop with them trying to figure out basically what their job is now. What's their purpose? And I think that could be really intriguing.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that could be that could make for some great entertainment, and I think that initially is going to be their big struggle. Is perhaps we'll see Order 66, and who knows really how they're going to react to that or how they're going to get through it. But the main struggle is once they get through that is what is their purpose going to be. The little hints that we were given basically say that they're going to become mercenaries and run like odd jobs, which again very much reminds me of Star Wars Rebels, and that's what the Rebels did in the beginning, working for Vizago. And I could see them working for somebody kind of like that just to get through, and then eventually maybe Rex comes into the picture and Ahsoka. It's hard to tell at this point, but I think it should be interesting.
Yeah, I think it will definitely play into a lot of that, and I think we heard rumors, of Ahsoka and Rex. I mean, it'd be very unlikely that they wouldn't show up, I would think. I think they're going to have a small part at the very least. Whether or not, I think they'll make huge ripples. I think what we're going to see is a lot of stuff with the chips. Rex took his chip out. I'm not really. Nobody's sure on if the clones of Bad Batch have the chips because they are genetically modified. So, and especially with Echo, he was captured by the Separatists. Who knows if they tinkered with the chip? And we don't know that part of the story yet. But I think Order 66 will be a good starting off point for sure.
Yeah, well, it made it sound like it was going to be, what did they say? Something like the direct aftermath of Order 66. So it's hard to say if they'll start. I think they're actually going to start during Order 66. Like, I think that's just such an interesting point. Like, how could you just skip over that, right? Yeah. But yeah, I mean, overall, I think that's part of what's going to make this story compelling is the fact that they're going to really struggle with what their purpose is, right? After Order 66, they've just been going around and blowing up clankers and kind of having fun doing that. But once that's out of the way and, they see their brothers struggling or enslaved and the Empire is rising, I think that's what's going to be quite compelling is their struggle to find something to do, right?
Sure. So let's dive a little bit more into let's talk about our favorite character from Bad Batch. Do you have a special character that you kind of like more than the others with the Bad Batch?
I kind of like them all, to tell you the truth. I think Wrecker definitely is just hilarious, right? He's like the comic relief, and he just destroys everything. So he's got a special place in my heart right away. But I also like Hunter sort of that Rambo character, right?
Yep.
He's just he's very cool as well. But hey, I'm also really into technology, so I like tech. So there's that, and I guess Crosshair's the odd one out, but
Yeah.
they're all pretty cool.
It's kind of
And of
hard to
course,
like.
there's
Yeah.
Echo too. Sorry, I don't think about Echo as part of the Bad Batch yet. I got to rectify that, but yeah,
Yeah, when I was thinking about this question, I was like, "Oh wait, Echo. That's such an easy answer for me now. Like Echo all the
yeah,
way. Like
yeah.
he is awesome, and he's the one character that's going to be the close knit connection to make this really almost like a Clone Wars sequel, if you think about it, because he's
Mm,
there from the
yeah.
episode Rookies, which is one of the first episodes of Star Wars: The Clone Wars, and he follows all the way through Domino Squad fives. He serves under Anakin, and that's like a whole nother conversation. Like, oh my gosh, can
Mhm.
Darth Vader somehow make an appearance? I probably would assume so because they try to put Vader in pretty much everything. So I would assume that's going to be a safe bet. But yeah, no, Wrecker, he was one of my favorites out of the gate, and I soon liked Tech a lot. I really dug how he's like the translator of the group with the poll text on the
Mm,
Wings of Kiridax and
yeah.
all that. He has like so much cool knowledge that he just spews out of his mouth, but he also has kind of like this humor about him as well, which I really appreciate for sure.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, it's going to
yeah.
be interesting to see how they develop them even beyond what we only got to see them for 4 episodes, right? So I'm sure they'll develop them much more beyond what we've seen already. So
And I think this what's interesting about the Bad Batch is they are at heart they are a very light-hearted crew. Like you watch those 4 episodes, and it's just a grand adventure. It's a lot of fun, and it's going to be interesting to see them inserted into the dark times of Star Wars, where everything is bleak and tragic, and maybe they'll add some kind of like uplifting layer of humor with Wrecker, of course, but there's no denying that this is going to be a time of strife. This is not the Clone Wars. This is, oh man, like serious bad stuff has happened to the galaxy, and yeah, like you mentioned before, they're going to be mercenaries. So a whole
yeah,
different era to play in.
yeah, I think that'll be a nice balance, though, right? Their humor and their camaraderie with the dark times. I think you need to have that absolutely, especially animation series are usually targeted at a younger demographic, so it might not get as dark as some people are saying. But you're right, it is a dark time. It's going to be hard to avoid that. So
Yep.
yeah, having their humor is definitely going to be a good balance to that, I think.
Yeah, so let's talk a little bit about characters we would like to see. Do you have, I'm sure you probably already have a list of all these characters you'd like to see, because there could be a lot, there could be so, this is like probably the richest time in Star Wars storytelling in this 20-year gap, essentially, of, oh my gosh, we have all these puzzle pieces to fit together from the video games, from the comics, from Revenge of the Sith, from A New Hope. Like all these people could show up, even from the Rebels series. So just name a couple off the top of your head if you would like there.
Yeah, well, I think I already mentioned Captain Rex,
Mm-hmm.
and it's interesting to me to wonder why he isn't actually a headliner. Like this could be the Captain Rex show, and I wonder if it's because Dave Filoni was like, I'm not going to be super involved. Captain Rex is kind of one of my main characters. I really like to write for. I'm not going to let you have him. You
Mm-hmm.
could have you can play with the Bad Batch, but maybe not Captain Rex. But I could be totally wrong. Maybe he becomes a main character, right,
Yeah.
later on. Obviously, Ahsoka Tano would be awesome. But what her role would be in this time, obviously the Ahsoka novels in there, that happens around a year after The Empire Rises. So I'm assuming we're going to see her sort of in the beginning and then not for a season or two, maybe, if it is going to go that long. It'd be really cool to see, just like a young cameo of a Kanan, though he would be really young and on the run. That would probably cross over with the Kanan comic. But Barriss Offee,
Oh
like
yeah.
that story could get finished off there. Maybe that's when Ahsoka comes in, right? And they sort of finish that story. But yeah, there's just so many unresolved stories from the Clone Wars. I've heard a lot of
Mm-hmm.
people saying, Cad Bane and Boba Fett,
Oh
they
yeah.
really want to see that duel between them somehow
Oh.
within the Bad Batch, which would be kind of weird, but I guess maybe you could pull it off, right?
Yeah,
I
yeah,
don't
yeah.
know.
They've done grander things with Rebels, with Maul and having that duel with Obi-Wan, which is like, oh yeah,
Mm,
you wouldn't expect that when you first seen the synopsis for season one of Star Wars Rebels. Like, oh, in season three we're gonna get the long fateful duel between Obi-Wan and Maul. Wait, what? Like, so I
that's
think
a
that's
great point. Yeah, great point. And the showdown between Ahsoka and Vader, like, that is like the
yeah,
climax of
seriously.
season two. And it's probably the highest point in Star Wars Rebels, and it doesn't I mean it does involve the rebels, but neither of them are really in that fight, right? Like
Yeah.
none of them can really can hang with Ahsoka or Vader. And I think if Ahsoka is going to have a role, I think it'll be a similar role. She'll show up when, Barriss Offee or, Inquisitors show up, that sort of thing, right? And the Bad Batch are in over their head, that Gandalf sort of role, right?
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
So, yeah, I think there's lots of potential for that to happen, and but yeah, I think, it would be great if Captain Rex had a big role in this. I think that would be really cool. I'm just, like I said, I think maybe Dave Filoni said, meh.
Yeah, it could
Well, we
be.
shall see.
It could be.
Yeah.
I think it would be cool for him because he's the one that knows how to remove the chips. They're the things that are going to be, keep triggering them to go kill Jedi. So we know Wolf is out there. He takes a chip out. We know Gregor. He's going to remove the chip from him somehow. So that's got to be one of the
Mm,
main plot lines for sure.
yeah,
I want to see.
that's what I said in one of my prediction videos there was that I think that the first part, because remember, Captain Rex, he doesn't know how, he just knows about them. I don't think he knows how to take them
Oh, true,
out.
true, true. He was
Yeah,
unconscious
I
at the
could.
time.
Yeah, so it would be a matter of him and the Bad Batch trying to figure out, like, what are these chips? Where are they located? Remember, Ahsoka had to use the Force to even find it, right?
Oh yeah.
So I think it's going to be a little more complicated than just jumping to let's get these chips out of people's heads. It's gonna take some detective work on part of the Bad Batch. This is total speculation, but in Captain Rex, and maybe he's on that mission, and they just help him sometimes, and sometimes they're mercenaries. Who knows how it's going to go? But I really hope that it follows mostly uh, that story,
Hmm.
right, of the clones and their struggles, and kind of how they're going to be tossed aside, and the separatist droids are also going to be tossed aside as well, right? It's
Yeah.
it's an interesting period for sure.
Yeah. For sure. Like I've been really rearing to go when it comes to this whole period because it first sparked my interest in Darth Vader, the Charles Soule run, and I think
Mm,
it was the second or third issue. Vader's on like a space orbital docking station, and there's clone troopers on there, and they're already talking about. And mind you, this is like right after he gets the armor. They're already talking about, oh, they're starting to phase us out. Like they're giving us the work to like clean up these stations because they're already kind of tossing us aside. So
mm,
there's other huge characters, like for instance, like Commander Cody. Like he's a big character that we don't know what his whereabouts are, what happens to Commander Cody. He was so close to Obi-Wan and so close to Ahsoka and everybody else. So a character like that, but since this is so close to Revenge of the Sith and Order 66, I really want to see some Jedi. We know that there's a whole bunch of Jedi, thanks again to the Darth Vader comics. There could be Jedi
mm.
running around like get Quinlan Voss in this show somehow because I've been waiting for that guy to come back in action ever since I knew he survived.
That
Um,
was the name I was gonna say too. Yeah, absolutely. That would be so. He's just such a cool Jedi, right?
he's so cool, and he would kind of fit in with the Bad Batch, who are very non-clone trooper like, because their personalities are all crazy. Like they're
Mm,
Mavericks themselves, so it makes sense for like these two Mavericks, this group, to meet with this guy, and then kind
mm,
of do their own thing. Like he's probably just trying to get by like Kanan Jarrus, like on the run from the Imperials, and maybe they can help each other out. I feel like that would be a
mm.
really cool story to tackle. And again, like there's still a lot more Jedi left. Like they could, are they going to try to help them rebuild the Jedi Order during this time? Like we know, a couple years later they'll have Ser Jenda and Jedi Fallen Order are trying to do that. So there's like, again, there's so many storylines. You could show the beginning of the rebellion and have like Bail Organa in the first couple episodes, them trying to
Hmm.
link up with the early Rebel alliances you see, and like you mentioned, the Ahsoka novel has the
Yeah.
first like little rumblings of all that going on. So it's
Yeah.
just so exciting because I know not everybody is down with the idea of the Bad Batch because people I think are looking at it a little differently than maybe me and you are. Like, oh, the Bad Batch are just like a dumb bunch of one-note characters. I'm not watching this. But like, if you really think about it, like, you can see this really rich era of storytelling told through the lens of the Bad Batch. You don't necessarily have to like look
Exactly.
at it so at that
Yeah.
surface level. If you look at it deeper, I think you can really get into some cool stuff that I don't think anybody expected. I mean, look at
Yeah.
the Clone Wars. It started off where pretty much half the people hated Ahsoka, then turned out to be one of the best characters ever in Star Wars. So
Exactly. Character development, right? And the just the fact that I forget what I was going to say now. Sorry. Just yeah, it's just we're going to develop these characters, and oh, I remember now. It's just the fact that you can the places you can go with this crew, like you can go anywhere with
hmm
this setup, right? You can introduce just about any character from canon, plus lots of new cool characters. Like that's the strength, I think. Um, I really hope they develop those or those five characters even more. But that's, I think, the strength of this show is that you can do whatever you want, right? Like there's
Yep.
just so many possibilities. So
Yes.
that's what I'm looking forward to most, and seeing. I am really looking forward to seeing what they do with these characters to make us love them as well, because they were pretty flat, right? There wasn't a lot to them, so hopefully they can change that around.
Yeah, that's the thing with a series like this, and I guess Resistance would also fall under that category, and Rebels too. Really, you have a bunch of new characters. You have a clean slate. Any of them can die at any given moment. It's not like the Clone Wars you're watching. Oh my gosh, Obi-Wan is in danger. Oh wait, he's got to live. Like it's like
Yeah,
you could
yeah,
literally
good point.
do anything with these guys. They aren't anywhere else in the timeline unless you want to call like, oh, they're Scar Squadron, but I'm pretty sure they're not for many reasons. But people like to
Hmm.
think that connection could be there. But literally, yeah, they can be anywhere in the galaxy interacting with anybody because we do not know anything about them past this point in Revenge of the Sith. So I like this kind of storytelling, but it's going to be in an era of Star Wars that we know, and hopefully with the same animation because I think the animation for the Clone Wars season 7 is incredible. There's not much else out there that really compares to it. It's like on the same level cinematically as anything you could see from Pixar in a theater. So Disney Plus, I'm really happy that they are the ones that picked this up, and this could be Disney Plus's trial for like more Star Wars animated series. Like, okay, this is a series that is built from the ground up for Disney Plus. The Clone Wars was on there, but that was because it continued off of something, and all these episodes were pretty much already done in the can, so to speak, before they put them on there years ago. Um,
Hmm.
so this is really new territory for Star Wars. I'm happy that I don't really want to call it a risk because we know this is probably going to do well, but it's something that I don't think I would have expected Lucasfilm to do right now. But I'm happy it's being done.
Yeah, I've seen a lot of people say that, right? Like, the Bad Batch. That's not really if I was going to give you my top five animation series, I'd like Bad Batch wouldn't be in that top five. But like I said, I think there's a lot of potential, and people have to see that potential. The places we can go and the characters we can see through these characters, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. So just talking a little bit about themes, maybe possible themes. I know it's so early and we don't even have anything but like an
Hmm.
image of the name of the show and like a little blurb. Do you feel like there could be anything taught or anything showcased in this series that could really make it stand on its own from I'm trying to think of like some themes that happened in the Clone Wars, sacrifice and
Well,
things like that and whatnot.
yeah. Yeah, I mean, in Star Wars, unity, family, that's always a big theme and right across, right? So I don't think In Star Wars, you're not necessarily trying to be unique. It's sort of trying to approach the similar themes in a different way, right? So uh, I think this is going to be very much like the Clone Wars. It's going to be about that brothership. That's instead of the space family of Star Wars rebels, and you're going to have the brothers kind of ups and downs and supporting each other and helping each other out and just that unity making them stronger, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's how they're going to get through those ups and downs, just like in Star Wars Rebels. That's how Ezra gets through his whole dark side obsession. It's family, it's Kanan and Hera and that sort of thing. So yeah.
Yeah, no, that's definitely probably going to be one of them because unlike the Clone Wars, this is going to be laser focused on one story arc, pretty much. Like you're going to be laser
Good point.
focused. We're so used to the anthology storytelling in the Clone Wars that I'm excited to, because that's why I liked Star Wars Resistance and Rebels so much. Is it was a big enough departure from the type of storytelling that we're used to. But again, you get more character development when you're with these characters every single week. Then you go come back like 3 years later to pick up on some of these characters that you've seen in the Clone Wars.
Hmm.
So definitely looking from that point of view, I'm super pumped. Talking a little bit about the creative team. So running through the list of everybody that's involved with the show, we have, of course, Dave Filoni as an executive producer. We also have Athena Portilla also as an executive producer. She was behind some of the Clone Wars, Star Wars Rebels, and she was also a big part of Star Wars Resistance as well. For supervising director and executive producer, we have Brad Wall, who is part of Star Wars Rebels and Resistance. We also have our head writer and executive producer, Jennifer Corbett. She is part of Star Wars Resistance and NCIS. We also have co-executive producer Carrie Beck. She's involved with a lot of things at Lucasfilm, like The Mandalorian, Star Wars Rebels. And we have a producer, Josh Rhimes, from Star Wars Resistance. So the big thing here, and you had a video about this, is Dave Filoni's still going to be pretty involved with this show, which is very relieving to hear, of course.
Yeah, absolutely. If Ahsoka and Rex are going to be involved at all, I'm sure Filoni's going to have a big say in what happens with those two characters. Absolutely, it's a big relief, but at the same time, it's like, how involved is he going to be, right? So it's really tough to say at this point. I believe the writer, I think it was my buddy JJ, said that the writer is the same writer on Resistance, and
Yep.
a lot of people might say, oh, it's going to be horrible, horrible. Resistance was horrible, but I mean, Resistance was targeted at a younger demographic, and it was, the animation, people really didn't like the animation. These characters are already set up. They've already been established by Dave Filoni and like George Lucas himself. So,
Yes. Yeah.
I think that really matters, right?
That's a huge point that I want to definitely touch on. The Bad Batch was originally, and there's video proof of like George Lucas like talking about the Bad Batch. So
Yeah.
technically, if you want to get really crazy about it, this is still a George Lucas influenced project, right? Because he was bringing these guys, and now they're going to take the ball and run with it even further. But yeah, the thing is, you got to worry about, right? Executive producer in Hollywood. That could mean anything from just like maybe paying some money to help fund it, and they might not necessarily be involved. I think the situation might be like what happened with Star Wars Resistance, where you had Dave Filoni kind of pitch the idea and kind of flesh out the overall arc of, okay, you got these racers on this station, it's going to be like World War II dogfighting sort of thing. I think he might be doing it like that, where he's like maybe helps create the story, hands it off to him, maybe checks some things here and there they send to him, okay, that's cool, maybe change that a little bit. I don't think he's going to be in the day-to-day operations because he's involved with The Mandalorian and maybe this other sequel series of Rebels whenever that comes out to play. But no, talking about this writer, and I looked up, somebody posted some of the episodes that she was involved with Star Wars Resistance, and I'm pretty sure all of them are like season 2 towards the end of the season, which I thought was really
Oh,
strong.
okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
she did the
Yeah.
episode, The Water World, when they had those like indigenous aliens that were on the big flying creatures, and the Colossus was flying around. She was in charge
Right,
of
right.
that episode, and like a couple other of the latter episodes of season 2. So I'm like, hey, that's all good stuff. Like, I'm all for this. And for people complaining about Star Wars Resistance Rider, like, don't worry about it, because first off, Disney, they had to cater to Disney's demographics when they were making Star Wars Resistance, so they had to make some certain things happen for it to be on cable TV for a certain age range. Whereas now, with Disney Plus, they have a little bit less restrictions, they have more of a budget. It's going to be a completely different ballgame when this series is being produced with more money, more funding, and they don't have to be like, oh, we have to make 19 episodes, and only like half of them are really going to change with character development. They can, like you said with the Clone Wars, that storytelling was super tight for those 12 episodes. Everyone pretty much mattered, and they built up on top of the other. So I think, rest assured, guys, if you're kind of hesitant about anybody creatively involved, what they might have done in the past, I don't think you can really compare those right now.
Yeah, and like we said, there's this connection directly to George Lucas, right? So even Dave Filoni, it's already established. The Bad Batch are established. Those characters are well established, and they even have. I think the Bad Batch were involved with like a Kashyyyk arc at one point. So I mentioned that in my prediction video that's probably where they're going to start at. Like they could just pick up there, right? So they might not. Who knows? But there's already something there for them to go with, and yeah, Dave Filoni will be involved in some way. So that's always a good thing.
Oh yeah, definitely. But overall, I'm really excited for the series, and I'm just excited that there's another animated series that we can look forward to. It's always fun when we have these announcements, and it seems like Lucasfilm most of the time they only want to promote like one thing, like one type of thing. Like for instance, they're only going to promote one movie, they're only going to promote one live action series in development, and they're only going to really promote one animated series. So hey, we got our Mandalorian to look forward to in October. This is coming out in 2021. I'm really hoping, and I'm sure everybody else is, that this is coming out the same time Clone Wars came out. Hopefully it's on track. The cool thing about all of this right now is because animation is probably one of those very few things in entertainment, like video games, that can be produced without a whole lot of restrictions right now with the climate of the world, with the pandemic going on. A lot of these voice actors are given the equipment that's necessary for them to record everything, and since it's digital, a lot of the work doesn't need to be done in person. Yeah, it's great to have like your supervisor over your computer as you're working, they like spitball some things, but at least there's still a possibility that they can churn out like this series like as if hopefully nothing really happened out there. So that's my hopes for it.
Yeah, absolutely. I hope it, maybe it's a little later, almost into spring, whereas the Clone Wars started in February, maybe, but hopefully it'd be really nice to see it in that starting around late February, just like the Clone Wars did. You got a decent gap between that and the Mandalorian, but it sort of keeps Star Wars rolling, right? So
yeah, like okay, you have like this chunk of 12 weeks here, another chunk of 12 weeks there. So like I think eventually Star Wars is going to be on Disney Plus all the time around the year. You're going to have Cassian Andor, you're going to have, because there's like 5 active Star Wars projects just for TV alone. You got Mandalorian, you got this, you got the creator of Russian Dolls, you got Cassian Andor, you got Obi-Wan. 5 things potentially could be going on at the same time in one single year. That's just
absolutely
exciting to think about. But I do want to thank you for coming on and talking about the Bad Batch. I was so excited to talk about this, and I knew you were the guy to get on here because your channel is awesome. So I want you to tell everybody watching a little bit about Star Wars Speculation, man.
Yeah, Star Wars Speculation. Check me out on YouTube. Basically, I cover quite a bit of animation and The Mandalorian, quite a bit about Ahsoka and Dave Filoni. And yeah, we have a great time. I do community videos where I write questions on my community tab and ask for input on speculation and theories and whatnot. So it's cool to get the community involved. And yeah, you can find us on YouTube.
Yeah, that's really what drew me to your channel, man. Is that there's videos that you were like, hey, just come out with some questions, and you would literally answer them like the next day or two. it was awesome to feel like, hey, I had a part in making somebody's video, and that's when I first started really getting involved with what you're doing. I was on a video or two of yours on your channel, so it's been fun, and you are really one of the better positive people in Star Wars right now, and it's really exciting to have people that are welcoming everybody to their channel, and it's just a lot of fun, man. So I really do appreciate everything you do over there on Star Wars Speculations.
Well, thanks, Chris. I appreciate that, and I appreciate I appreciate what you're doing with your podcast here and reaching out to people, and that's like I said earlier, that's what Star Wars is about, right? Unity, bringing people together, family. So bringing the Star Wars family together, that's awesome. So keep it up, man.
Yeah, man. Yeah, man. So for social media, do you have anything to plug? Twitter, Instagram, anything like that?
Yeah, it's at SW Speculation, Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook.
Awesome, awesome. And make sure you check out his channel, and please do subscribe to Star Wars Speculations. So that's going to do it for episode 6. We were covering the Bad Batch. Now it's time for you guys to sound off in the comment section down below. What do you think about the Bad Batch being announced? Are you excited for this? So let's talk about it and have a good old conversation down there. For any of you that are new to the channel, welcome. I talk about Star Wars a heck of a lot on the channel, as well as other things, so if that sounds interesting to you, you can go ahead and subscribe to the channel, as that's the easiest way to support me here. That's going to do it for me, Starrapter, and for Star Wars Speculation, that's going to do it for episode 6. Have a good one, and may the Force be with you always. Thanks for checking out the video. Please hit that thumbs up symbol. It helps me know that I'm making content that you guys enjoy. And if you enjoyed this video, I also include 2 videos down below you guys should check out. And please consider subscribing to this channel. It helps support me, and it notifies you guys of when I get new videos up on the channel. You can also contact me on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram at Starrapter.